Amateur presenters finish a talk and then judge themselves. Professional presenters finish a talk and then analyse it, the talk, not just themselves. What I want to do is give you some ways to self-critique. Now, ideally, you'll have somebody to critique for you. Somebody who can give you feedback during the rehearsal process. Somebody who can give you feedback after you presented. But sometimes you don't actually have somebody else to hand to do that. And sometimes you just need to be able to critique yourself. But there are some real dangers involved in critiquing yourself. So I wanted to dig into this in a bit of depth. So this might be a slightly longer video than normal, so strap in. First of all, I think it's important to think about this. You are analysing, not judging. You will be your own harshest critic. You will be far harsher than somebody else who you might have asked to analyse and to judge and to critique. So give yourself a break. First thing first, what went well? What worked? What were the really strong bits? In fact, most of it may well be pretty good already. There may just be a few things that you can tweak. So concentrate on positives as well as negatives. It's so easy, particularly when critiquing yourself, to just focus straight onto the negatives. If you do want to critique yourself properly, you need to watch yourself back in the way that an audience would watch you. Easiest way to do that when you're rehearsing, or if you are presenting in a room, is to get it videoed. Prop up your phone on a corner of a table and present to the camera. If you are speaking in a room, maybe ask a colleague or friend or somebody if they can just hold a phone at the back, or even take a little tripod, set up your phone at the back of the room and just film it. It's not going to be great quality, but it's enough for you to be able to critique it. Bear in mind that nobody likes watching themselves on video. So you will get, there's an ick factor, there really is. You will be going, oh, and you will spot things that nobody else would spot. You'll spot body language, you'll spot words that you're tripping over, tone of voice, the pitch of your voice, things that quite frankly nobody else would actually notice. So bear in mind, you will be your own harshest critic. You do need to bear that in mind and concentrate on the positive as much as what needs to change. Second point, you need to separate the content from the delivery. You need to separate what you said from how you said it. Now, you may well have great content, the best content possible, but if the delivery is not quite there, that content won't come across. Likewise, you may be an absolute ace on stage, but that won't make up for content that's not as good as it should be. So when you are critiquing your presentation, you need to think about what you said, the content, as well as how you said it. So let's just think about the content. Did it meet your objectives? Did you get across the points that you wanted to get across? Did your audience meet their objectives? And if you want to know about audience objectives and your objectives, go back and find the other videos on my YouTube channel. They're all there. But think about, did I put across the key messages that I wanted to communicate? Did they come across clearly? Were they easy for the audience to understand? Did I put across a really strong, clear call to action? It's a very important part of any presentation. Is the call to action really explicit? Is it easy for the audience to pick it out and then act on it? Did I tell good stories? Were they pertinent? Were there examples, case studies, data that backed up my main points? So think about all that content. Did it do its job? Did it earn its place? There may be some content in there that actually probably shouldn't be. Quite often we might have a story that we love telling, or a particular anecdote we like, and we try to ram it into any presentation we give because we know it gets a laugh or an audience responds to it. Sometimes though, it doesn't serve the presentation you're giving, so you do have to cut it out. So look critically at your content. Does it earn its keep? Does it play a role? Does it make it a better experience for the audience? So you need to think about what you said, but you also need to think about how you said it, the delivery. Were you relaxed? Were you high energy, if that's what you wanted to be? Were you quiet and still? and impactful that way, if that's the way you wanted to come across? Was there a clear tone of voice? Did your body language support what you wanted to put across? Were you using emphasis in particular points where you needed people to really pay attention? All these are part of how you say it, your delivery. So bear in mind, you need to be thinking about what you say, the content, but also how you say it, the delivery. Separate those two out. And just think, it may well be that one of those is great, the other needs work. Once you've got them both up to a high level, then you're on to a winner. Next thing to think about when you are critiquing yourself is you need to critique the outcomes, not just how it made you feel in the moment, particularly if you are critiquing yourself after a presentation. It's very easy to think, oh, I felt really nervous. It's not actually how you felt doesn't matter. It's how the audience felt. What did they take away? So think about what was the emotional state that you put an audience into. Think about how did the audience respond? Was there laughter when you wanted there to be laughter? Was there a sharp intake of breath if that's what you wanted? Did people start taking notes at certain points? Those are all outcomes because that's an audience responding to what you're saying. So how you felt in the moment, oh, I didn't get that right, audience probably didn't even notice. Or, oh, I was so nervous, I completely lost my train of thought. Again, you'd be surprised how often an audience won't even notice. You might feel like you're melting down inside. To an audience, you may be just taking a pause, and that's absolutely fine. So critique the outcomes that you made and how you made the audience feel. Think about, laughter is always a good indication, applause is a good indication. I always think taking notes. If I see an audience look down and start taking notes, clearly I've said something that has really resonated with them. So get into the habit of critiquing the outcomes and how you made the audience felt, and that's not about how you feel. Another top tip if you are doing self-critique for your presentation or pitch or speech or whatever it is, aim to improve one thing at a time. It's very easy to come out with a whole page of notes just going, oh, that needs to change and that wasn't right and I'm really not sure that was good and that's not a good one either and oh, that whole section needs redoing and that joke didn't work and what have you. A really good presenter will identify the main thing that needs to change. Now that might be one thing to keep. That story worked really well, that needs to stay, or maybe I even move it up and I use it as my opening story. So one thing to keep. Maybe it is one thing to lose. So actually that little section didn't really work, or actually that call to action doesn't come across. I think we need to lose that. It may be that there's one thing to ignore. You know what, it's not the perfect story, but it gets me there, or it's not exactly the data maybe doesn't quite tell exactly the story I needed to tell, but it helps to illustrate the point. And maybe if I caveat it properly so that people understand that it's maybe not exactly as I wanted it to be, that will be fine. So one thing do you want to keep? One thing do you need to lose? Or one thing do you need to ignore for the moment? And ignoring something may feel as if you are brushing under the carpet, but you know what? If you reinvent everything every time you present, it's incredibly hard work because you've got to relearn it all from scratch. And it will often trip you up because you'll remember older versions of your speech. So make sure that you only change one thing at a time. If you are in rehearsal, change that one thing, then re-rehearse the whole thing. Film it, watch it back, critique it, and just think, okay, yes, that can be changed. Actually, no, that probably shouldn't be changed. So think about what you're going to keep, what you're going to lose, what you're going to ignore. Do you notice I haven't said one thing to change? Because change can go in both directions. It can be a positive, can be a negative. Much better to think of it in terms of what am I going to keep, what am I going to lose, or what am I going to ignore. Just to go back to how I started this video, you are going to be your own harshest critic. You will give yourself a far harder time than either that you would give somebody else if you were critiquing their presentation, or somebody else would give you if you had asked them to give you feedback. When you are critiquing yourself, concentrate on the positive. Now, you might have watched my other videos about feedback, and you'll have heard me say a great question to ask when you want feedback from somebody is what worked, what went right, and that's your starting point before you get into what needs to change. And the same is true when you're critiquing yourself. Stop, think, actually, what are the good bits? Which are the bits that work? Which are the bits that really impacted? Again, if you have actually presented this for real, you'll probably know from the way the audience responded. If you are still in a rehearsal process, it can be slightly trickier, but just put yourself in an audience member's shoes. How would you respond to this particular statement, this story, this data, this call to action? So, hear the good stuff. Focus on the positive. Find one thing to change, and that might be in your content, or it might be in your delivery. And it's one thing to keep, or one thing to lose, or one thing to ignore, and you will be on the way to really giving yourself a proper self-critique. Do not beat yourself up. Do not give yourself a hard time. Celebrate the good stuff. Celebrate your achievement as a presenter, the impact you're making, the message you are communicating to your audience, and amplify that. Set out to take that good stuff and make it even better. If you want more tips about presenting, public speaking, giving and receiving feedback, explore my YouTube channel. You'll find so much there for you to use and to apply to your presentation next time you have to stand in front of an audience. If you want somebody to critique for you, very happy to do it. Get in touch. Be very happy to work with you to make your presentations better for you and, more importantly, for your audience.